Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight I want to dive back into material design in XAML, sort of, or at least dive back into my XAML test. A couple streams back we were playing with some MCP server stuff and we kind of got some things rolling and I realized, oh shoot, we've got some out-of-date packages, we haven't revved the source generators to the new incremental stuff. I was like, I need to fix that. So that's the plan for tonight. First, just a couple updates. One, the stream last time, if people were watching it, all that stuff that we were fighting with the model loading and similar, I got a message shortly after the stream. Victor realized that I just needed to change the dropdown on the model type, and it works just fine. So back into that as another potential. Again, kind of playing around to see which way we want to go. We're going to play with it with some more models, but not prepped for that tonight. So we'll circle back to it again. Again, it's one of those I suspect figuring out the right solution will take longer than actually doing the solution itself, and I want to actually learn this a little bit along the way, so I want to make sure I'm in a good place for that. Also, next week, so as I record this, it's January 22nd in my time zone. Next week, I am having a meeting with Mads Torgerson, who is the head of the C# team at Microsoft, and he agreed to let me interview him for a video. So that is awesome. It will not be live streamed, but it will be going up on YouTube, hopefully within a day or two of me doing it. So my goal is to have it out there before February 1st, 2026. So if you're watching this after this date, check out the YouTube channel. Hopefully it's there. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm tickled to death that he was willing to actually come on and talk C# because I love C#. And I think that is kind of an awesome way to dive in and do it. So I'm looking forward to it. Izzy, good morning. Merry Christmas to you as well. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and I think I've got it. I think I still got it up. Yeah, so let me flip over here. I'll go left. So GitKraken started a new kind of live coding stream thing that they are playing with, and the first one is now out. So this is obviously recording the live stream. You can see their, I guess I got to get myself out of the way. You can see their YouTube channel down there if you want to join in and watch them. My understanding is they're going to try these for a bit and see how they go. So it's in this case, it was a bit of live coding with Chris, which I thought was kind of cool. They then had Jeremy come on, who is talking about GitKraken insights, so effectively better metrics into seeing how things are actually working. And then I'll be honest, I had to bounce for a meeting and I didn't catch what Chris was reviewing with the GitCon winners, but I was actually kind of excited to see this because at GitCon, there was only so much time to kind of talk about the projects and who won, and there was some pretty cool looking stuff. So I have it on my watch list to go back and actually finish this because unfortunately I was just kind of listening to it during my day job and I had meetings and stuff. So I had to bounce and go and look at that. But very cool stuff. So if anybody's interested, absolutely check it out. Looking forward to seeing more stuff because again, it's live coding and Chris is pretty good. So there's that. Okay, so we have that. Okay, XAMLTest. So just to kind of set the stage of where we're at is we had gone through, I did an update. Go away, Copilot, I don't want to look at you. And then I think I had done a blind NuGet update. And I just revved another one here. And the problem that comes is when you rev up to the latest packages, you run into the same problem. And I think I did this on stream before of the source generators. Microsoft, when they first released it, there was the iSource generator interface, which is what these things are using. And then they realized that there were some performance problems with this, and they converted over to incremental source generators, which the idea here is that by forcing kind of a different interface, we can sort of short circuit, do smaller bits of the source generation so that source generators don't negatively impact somebody's compilation any more than they absolutely have to, and it can be optimized. So that's the basic premise, but that also means that in the latest versions of the packages, we now have build warnings, and because I elevate these things to errors, coming back saying, because you'll note here, this is a RS, not like a CA or a CS prefix on the error code. So this is all for the Roslyn analyzers flagging these, saying, hey, by the way, you need to do something about this. This is no bueno. If you want to keep using source generators and you're updating the latest packages, please fix your source generators. So my intent here is to start with that and try to get these things fixed. It's not too bad to do, I don't believe, because I did it on the AutoMock library. So this one had a bunch of source generators, and for people who haven't seen it, I did something that was both clever and mildly confusing. Is I created some source generators, and I'll just like open one up. We'll do the docs here, right? So what these source generators do for the AutoMocker library is, I think, kind of clever. Is rather than trying to build dependent NuGet packages, which is often what they're doing. So AutoMocker by itself doesn't take a lot of dependencies. That's intentional. I don't want it to, because I don't want people, in order to use AutoMocker, to be required to bring in, say, the iLogging abstractions or otherwise, right? Once those things kind of get bundled in the BCL, that's less of a concern. But at least for now, because you have to bring them in via the extensions packages, I don't want to make the assumption that to use AutoMocker, people are using extensions logging. I think most of them probably are, but I don't want that as a NuGet dependency. And what most people do is they make a derived NuGet package that takes a dependency on iLogger and a dependency on AutoMocker, and then you can do code that uses both. Instead, what I did is I said, you know what would be better is if the AutoMocker library had a source generator, and when it saw usages of both this NuGet package and AutoMocker, it would then add in extension methods to allow you to inject stuff, which in my opinion is kind of cool. So two major disadvantages that I was aware of. One I was kind of expecting, and one kind of caught me a little off guard. So the obvious one is this is very much, or this is significantly more difficult from a development point of view, because source generators, you don't have the benefit of like being able to compile against a particular target framework. Like NuGet packages, if you want to do something that's, hey, this is the new .NET 8 syntax, and this is the new .NET 10 syntax, I can just pound if, compile, my NuGet package gets 2 DLLs, I'm off to the races, great, fine. Right? That's great, but with a source generator, you have to be a little more careful in how you go about things, because it's much easier to accidentally generate code that breaks something. Because if you generate code that requires say the .NET 10 SDK, so the C# 14 compiler, but somebody then references your package in a project that's using an older version of C# or .NET, it now fails to compile, your world ends. So oftentimes source generators, they kind of down level and only generate, we'll call it old school or idiomatic C#, because that's the safest thing to go through and do. Fine, but it does mean that it's a lot harder. The other thing that I wasn't quite expecting that kind of caught me off guard is when I'm generating these methods, if somebody has multiple packages where AutoMocker is referenced, because I'm source generating and effectively adding a file to that project, those files can easily cause naming collisions or ambiguous references, which has been the case most of the time. Because I had not considered, when I generate these files, if somebody has test package A and test project B, and B references A, and AutoMocker's in both of those, well, when I generate those files, they're visible in both places, and so there's technically two add fake logging methods in existence. And now when you do mocker add fake logging, the compiler goes, I don't know which one to pick, right? Because it doesn't know that it should only do one. It doesn't understand that dependency reference. So it's one of those things that's like, that's a little obnoxious. And that one caught me off guard. And I kind of fixed it initially by making the generated methods internal rather than public. That fixed most cases. What still bites is if people turn on internals visible to or otherwise, and they expose it. And so now I've got myself into this situation where it's like, ah, shoot, I don't have an easy fix for this. So the current solution is there are MS Build properties. It should be documented down here. Yeah. Where if you are running into this on a project with the AutoMarker library, you can turn these suckers off and just say, if you've got project A referencing project B and you have internals visible too, typically what you would do is in project B, you would set this in the project so that because you have the generated code in project A, you don't need it generated a second time in project B. Problem solved. That's kind of the expected workaround, at least for now. I've been toying with other ideas of trying to make the generators smarter about dependencies, and that just feels like a rat's nest of a mess. But I did go through, I added these markdown files, I added the explanations, and then I actually went out to Context 7, which is the source for a lot of AI agents, and made sure to have them rescan the repository. So hopefully all this information gets picked up and it gets transferred. That's my hope. Because the hard part is, how do I disseminate this information? It's really hard for me to know how to do it better. Anyway, that was a long explanation, only mildly relevant. The key thing here is this I incremental source generator compared with what we have in here now, right? Because the old school stuff was doing this. We need to fix this up and change it because we've got two levels of generators here. So I have my element generator, which is its purpose is to actually generate those strongly typed extension methods on the XAMLTest elements. So if you create your own WPF control and you have, say, your own, I don't know, icon property, you expect that when you reference it with XAMLTest that you can access that icon property. And you can with the basic API of it because XAML or Visual Element has a generic get property, but then you got to pass the property name and all that stuff. If you have the source generator run against it, it will go through and it will generate out extension methods for get set on all those dependency properties for you, just to make your life a little bit easier. That way you can then access it with a strongly typed call. You don't have to do all of the wacky stuff. It will deal with some simple conversions for brushes and colors and otherwise, and generate all of this stuff out, and we're off to the races, right? So this is what needs to actually be changed up and cleaned up. So I think, trying to decide where we start. I think what we can do is we can unload this project for now, because this is just generating my unit tests. And I think this is the one that's actually in use, and we can clean this up a little bit better. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and I'm blatantly going to steal my code from AutoMarker because that feels like the best thing to do. So I just wanted to double check target framework because I'm still targeting net standard 2.0. The .NET 10 SDK did add some cool MS Build stuff where we don't have to keep doing this going forward. However, that's for .NET 10 SDK and forward, and I'm a little hesitant to start leveraging it until the other stuff falls out of support. So as long as .NET 8 is still in support, I'm not likely to do it. You can't steal from yourself. What if I have amnesia and I can't remember it was me? Yeah. I usually enjoy doing this. Okay, so that's where we're going. That's where we're going. So let's check here. That looks like what I would expect. And then rather than the generator element, we have to actually specify language on it so that we understand what it's doing. Do that. And then we come in here and we do incremental generator. Come back, do this. Why is that so small? Need my text bigger. Okay, and now we see if it works. There we go. I had a bug, and I don't know if it was Visual Studio Preview or what, but my control period shortcut key stopped working, and I was very annoyed. Just because like I do run the insider builds of Visual Studio very consistently. Like I think most of the time it's perfectly fine. And I don't know whether it was an insider's issue or otherwise. Because I'm not entirely clear exactly when it started. I just know that I noticed it earlier this week and I was like, I don't remember when I last updated. Maybe there was an update, maybe there wasn't. But then it started happening on multiple machines and yeah. Still not stealing, just copying it. Apparently that is a form of flattery these days. If I can't steal from myself, can I flatter myself? I don't know if I can do that either. I feel like those should go hand in hand. But maybe that's just me. Okay. So this guy here, and I think what we're going to do first of all is I'm going to start one just so because some of this code was written for older C#, so I'm gonna spend a moment here and clean some of this up, and then I think I'm gonna break apart all of the, I think I'm gonna move you into visual element, and I think I'm gonna bring you two over with it as well, just because these are all the relevant things for visual element. That's what I keep getting told when I see my code on projects I've never worked on. I understand how that goes. I will say I've run into this problem now a couple of times where like I'll because Copilot has or Visual Studio has the duplicate code detection that you can turn on for, oh hey, we see this code in open source repos, are you sure you want to use it? And I'm like, yeah, I wrote that. I'm not real concerned. Do it. I wrote it originally. I'm fairly confident that author is not going to be angry about it because he's me. Okay, let's see. We'll just clean that up, get that down. At least you can point to some of past Kevin's work and say, yep, can't beat that. Means past Kevin isn't always stupid. That's true. He isn't always stupid. Though I will say I had a fun experience earlier this week. I ran into a fun error where it wouldn't. So if you call, don't do this. This is bad code. I won't say exactly what I was doing, but if you do activator create instance type of string, you get a really fun error here where it won't let you create an uninitialized string. It's kind of fun. I was like, and I saw the exception. I'm like, dang it. But I kind of want to. So, but I was trying to do a bad thing, and that kind of put the nail in the coffin of maybe I shouldn't do the bad thing. There's some times where maybe not doing it is the right answer. Okay, so external init, that's fine. That's just to ensure that we get support. That's fine. I'm just kind of glancing through some of these. I'm a little surprised. Oh, that one we already did. Great. Okay, so this is all fine. And now I'm trying to remember the magical APIs. So there's the register, the source output, and then contents report diagnostics. But this here, I think, is more akin to what we're looking for is a value source provider. And then this effectively replaces output the diagnostics. Is this really the easiest one to look at? I feel like I had one that was simpler. Yeah, this looks a lot better. I like this better. Okay, incremental value provider, blah, 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 blah. And then combine both conditions. That way we can check, and then we register. Yeah, this feels more like in line with what I'm looking for. Okay, because in our case, it really isn't going to be that much. I'm going to bring this down just because this is often an easy way of debugging when needed. So we'll do that. And then we need, so the everything in this execute method is going to be pretty close to, aside from this diagnostics bit, this guy is going to be looking to iterate over those visual element objects, which are these record classes that we have over here. These just capture the bits that we care about. The basic premise with a source generator is pass 1 collects the data, pass 2 writes the data. Yesterday I had a project I was asked to review, saw a bit of code and thought it looked familiar. Very wrong though, and asked where the code came from because it was wrong, and the author of that bit of code turned out to be me. Looked familiar because I had only updated and fixed that bit of code in my project last week. That is awesome. I will say that is kind of a constant struggle, especially when it's like, oh, I know where I've used that code. I'll just go fix it. And then you don't realize people have borrowed it for other things. Okay, so I need down below this incremental doohickey needs to build up, because I don't need a bool per se. Is generator enabled? Does the both, and then this guy needs to write it out. So what was it writing out to before? Just kind of work backwards. String builder, string builder, string builder. This was what it was writing to before. So I want to generate out something of this nature. And the context here is, where do I get, I'm not understanding my own code. Ask Kevin was clearly more brilliant than me. Ah. Oh, this is that's just straight text. Got it. Okay, so I need one. Where's one where I actually pass the context in? That is just so neither of those take the data. That one is also a hard-coded. Do I not leverage the data anywhere beyond these bools? That's gonna be real unfortunate. Register source output. Okay, there we go. Classes. Where do you come from? Source gets decompiled. Source is the second parameter of the lambda. Got it. Got it. So this is the second parameter, which comes in from here, which really should be, okay, just comment you out. So you need to be, I think the other one was building up a list of these things. Is that right? I think is what syntax receiver did. Generated types. What is syntax receiver generated types? Yeah, so I want one of these. I want one of these thingy-mabobbers. Oh, I went down lower. I should move you into your own file. Why are you here? Go away. Okay, so you should be here. And I don't think there's never a reason. I'm just trying to decide if I need to add a property to XAMLTest to turn this off. And I think the answer is no. Because it's triggered by the presence of an attribute, the solution is just don't use the attribute. Right? If it doesn't see the attribute, if it doesn't see its own attribute, it's not going to do anything. So, and actually, maybe it's better to actually pick on, it's probably better to pick on this guy here. And then whack all of these. And then we do visual elements provider, maybe? Yeah, something of that nature. Okay. That goes there, and then we need this method here. I don't know, get visual elements. Something of that nature. And then what was previously the syntax receiver probably gets replaced. Like almost all of this is probably gone. I'm trying to remember now, what did I do to rip through all of these to get all of the classes? So classes came in from here. Collect. So item target class. Where are these things coming from? Content syntax for attribute with method with metadata name. Oh, so I actually probably want something of this nature. Though I think I'm going to try to wrap it up in a function rather than doing what I did there and make a mess of it all. That looks kind of ugly. So I probably want to do this. And I probably want to take you and put you up here. And then I want the second parameter here to be the actual type. Elements, something about like that. And then I think I just want to whack this whole thing. I don't want to, because I think I'll just go back and copy from it for whatever I need. Because I think this gets me to here, this gets me to here, this gets me to here. Yeah, for attribute with metadata name. Fully qualified metadata name. Perfect. Because that's the shortcut that we're looking for, is we want to pick up all of those. We probably need to do some of the diagnostic-y bits, but that is okay. And so, let's see here. Content, syntax provider, and then what are the callbacks here? Syntax node, cancellation token, predicate. Great. And then the output is, okay, so two things. There's a predicate to see which syntax nodes we care about, and then a transform to actually act on it. Or attribute with metadata name. And I think that's okay, because I'm just trying to remember what exactly this guy does, because he's looking for this generate helpers attribute, but we're going to fully qualify him rather than it just being a type name, because this is kind of wussy. And then everything he needs is actually on this guy here. We've got a lot of filters and whatnot, and this is one of those things where it's doing some build up, but we may clean this up a little bit more. We'll keep it as is, I guess, to start, and then we'll come back. So the generate, this guy here is actually what we care to check, right? So this guy, so there's some usages of it there. We don't need that. Clear that up. And then let's just XAMLTest is the namespace on it. So for our new generator, we are going to do XAMLTest and then the generate test attribute, or generate helpers attribute. Be more explicit. Okay. That goes there. And now we need predicate. What do I want to call this? I think we're gonna do, I just want to break it out. Private static bool is generate helpers attribute. I think that's what I want for this predicate here. Get myself out of the way. Okay, so I want to be here. Syntax node, cancellation token, return value bool. So syntax node, cancellation token bool. I will say this is one of those weird things where you're taking a cancellation token on a synchronous call. Feels wrong, man. Feels wrong. But I kind of get why. Like these things, the new source generator stuff is optimized for performance, and it is in a compilation, so it's kind of do things a little bit differently. So I'm wondering if I should, yeah, that's fine. And then we will do, so, false, do the detection in a minute. Private static, because this guy here is now the transform, which wants to go from generate attribute syntax text. Get elements. Do void for the moment, because I can't remember. Generate syntax attribute syntax contents. I think that's quick partially rated question. Fire away, Izzy. Fire away. Generator attribute syntax context. We're just gonna go context. Cancel. Why am I doing this? Why am I fighting with this? Token, and then the return type that you want on this guy is what? Come on, show it to me. T. So in this case, I believe the return value that it wants is this. So I believe it wants that. Let's see. Return default. I don't want to think real hard. And then I do this, and that should be happy again. Do you have a video tutorial on how to use the library for testing WPF apps? No. And there's kind of a reason. So I had gone down the path of, so one, you can use XAMLTest to UI test your application if that's what you're looking to do. However, there's kind of this weird thing that happens. So when you actually do things like start the remote app, if all you have is a generic WP, like if you haven't customized your startup in any meaningful way, you're probably fine. The hard part comes when you have an app with customized startup. Specifically because what ends up actually happening is your app is not the running process for main. So because the way XAMLTest works is it's both a library and an executable. And so the executable portion of it is main. And I think I actually have program CS, right? So this is what, so when you do start remote targeting your app, and this main gets executed, but it gets pointed at this remote assembly so that it knows where to find the stuff, right? So it finds the application path, application type, remote method names, all of this stuff. And what it does is it goes looking for the WPF application class, and it starts it up for you. So if we come down here, and this, like I said, this is where it gets a little weird, right? So create from assembly. So it comes in, does all of this stuff to load up your DLL with looking for your WPF application class. It then starts your application class, calling constructors and otherwise. This is where it gets a little wacky because you'll note it kind of does a little bit of a dance to try to just shove stuff in and hope for the best. And actually we can clean this up while we're in here. Use collection expression. And so it does this reflection stuff in on your application class to actually start it. And then it has to manually call this initialize component because it's no longer the regular application starting. It actually now needs to do the initialize bits, which is fine. But if you have a customized startup or a customized main, that will never get invoked. And the reason it has to jump through all of these hoops is because it wants to run inside of your app. It wants to own the memory space of that running process so that it can stand up a gRPC server and do communication back and forth with the test process. At some point, I have high hopes of taking what is inside of Snoop and yanking out the bits of Snoop that are used for process injection. But that's kind of it's difficult because there's a lot of Snoop that basically says, okay, I'm looking for this target framework version, which means this version of presentation core, and it does some fancy bits there. And I would love it if Snoop had a NuGet package that did that process injection bits that I could leverage here, because ultimately what I need is I need a running thread in your target application that I can run my gRPC server on. That's the goal. There's also potentially version conflicts. Like if you've got a WPF app that also references gRPC at a different version, there's potentially conflicts to go along with that. So that's the only reason why I've never called it a generic UI testing thing. There's just these extra gotchas with it that it may be perfectly fine for your app. It may work just fine. What it's slightly better for is testing individual UI components rather than your app itself. So it does work fairly well for saying, hey, I've got this, user control, I've got this view, I've got this whatever, I've got this window class, those types of things. It's usually fairly good about being able to load that stuff in because it can load arbitrary user controls and do some work with it. But yeah, so new tester mentee, and it would be good to give them a resource to play with testing my example WPF app that uses your template and MDIX. Yeah, I could look at adding in something with XAMLTest in my templates just to see if, again, it's one of those things because I know there's all these gotchas with using this as a generic UI testing framework. I've always kind of shied away from telling people, hey, you can use it for that. Like, it'll certainly work in some cases. Yeah, that's kind of what the WPF app is. It's just some custom controls. Yeah, and in that case, honestly, the best thing to do is just to grab and I can pull it up here, the UI test project inside of the material design repo. That's actually not a bad place to look. Come on. Food. The only kind of weird thing to keep in mind is, one, I've made it T-Unit. So if T-Unit isn't your testing framework of choice, just be aware there's some special T-Unit configuration for like the parallelization. And this is not actually the best way to do this anymore, and I may go through and change it. T-Unit has since made this even easier because, right, 2 lines of code was too much. So they stripped it down, and now if all you want to do is set this limit, there's an attribute you can set at the assembly level. Yeah, I was hoping to use it as a resource when I cover some aspects of behavior testing. I don't think I have a good one. Let me just look here real quick on my because the one area that might be good is this one here. Let me check this one. I think this is the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think this is the one that I'm thinking of. This one, you may want to preview it a little bit, but this one might be the closest. It's a little dated in terms of covering some of the APIs, but I believe it covers over at least it gives a good premise of how XAMLTest works. I said it's a bit dated because it was 5 years ago, and I've done things that improved since then. But I think it actually covers a reasonably good job. But for an up-to-date sample, the material design project would at least show the setup. And I think the key thing is in the test base class is probably where I would tell people to look, specifically the load user controls, because this is likely what you would end up needing to do for your app itself, right? Is I added this extension method here that says, okay, here's how I'm going to initialize my application and load it so that it has all of the relevant bits. because I guess this is another gotcha too. It's depending on how customized you've done in your app.xaml. Like if it's just my template, it'll be fairly straightforward, and you can basically just poach all this code. But if it, again, for somebody else's app where they may have done a bunch of stuff here, you do have to make sure that you give XAMLTest all of the relevant assemblies that it needs to load in addition, because it registers up to the assembly loading calls to try to dynamically grab those. So you'll see because it grabs the exceptions. There is a assembly loading in here where it actually attempts to go through and get the needed assemblies. I don't remember exactly where that's living. But you will need, if you have a bunch of other NuGet packages in a library similarly, you'll end up needing to do something of that nature. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so that much is basically what we need to compile for. And then really what we need to do is just poach the relevant bits of this code up here to know, is this something of relevance? So syntax receiver, I believe, is the one that is actually doing most of this work. Is this a thing that we want to do? I think the answer is, I really just want this initial if condition to know, is this the thing that I'm after? The weird part is I think this helper, like this for attributes with metadata name, I think that actually gets me most of the way through. The only thing we probably do here is we validate the node is the thing we expect. We validate that the attribute has the bits, and I don't think I care to check the name anymore because that's what the helper does for me. So I think we just do this, and that just covers us from the use case if somebody hasn't used the attribute properly. That gets me to there. Great. And now I just need the parsey bits of yank that out of the syntax receiver. I think the syntax receiver is going to ultimately die, so let's just take the rest of this code, because this is what is actually building up the visual elements themselves. We're going to copy that back over here, and we're going to put you in here. And then at the end of the day, we just need to build up all of our stuffs. So I need list of visual elements. And I'm going to intentionally write this as a capital for no other reason other than I know that that's what it's called further down. And then this will give me an easy refactor. So I'm just trying to get it happy in here. So now I need ignored types is going to be something else we end up needing. So we're going to grab this guy because this is just a big long collection of stuff. And I think we're going to put you at the top, because ultimately these other two methods are going to die. So I think we put it here. And then we've got elements, we've got generated types. Let's go back down, ignoring all those. Okay, we got to figure out how we get out of this context bit, the type information. We need is delegate and should use visual element. Let's go grab those because I believe those are just local. Is delegate. Seems fairly straightforward. I must have missed a curly brace in there somewhere. That's terrifying. Okay, what is your closing brace? That's an if. That's the method. You go there. Okay. And so you are referencing an is method, which is right there. Pun intended. I'm sure everybody's laughing hysterically. I vaguely recall seeing a better way of doing a type check. So that's probably worth reinvestigating at some point. Okay, get safe type name. And then there must be local functions in here. Yeah, so both of you are local functions. I think we are going to promote you out into real functions for this case, because we gain very little with them being local functions. There is really only one method on this anymore. So that goes there, that goes there. Type remap. So I need that, I think, is the other dictionary. Type remap. And then we come in here and we're going to put you up at the top too. You're going to get referenced there. And that hopefully starts to get rid of most of these. So a good chunk of this code goes away. Let's see. Do you ever return any diagnostics, I guess is the question. Because I don't see... Where do the diagnostics come from? So this here is a diagnostic, and we probably need to push this, because this is going through at the end, but I think we need to do this inside of this function. So yes, we are going to be returning diagnostics, just not here. Okay, so let's start with this. I'm going to leave this capitalized elements until the end, and then we'll refactor it. So inside of context, I must have target node. And I think I can ignore this if statement, because the only things I should be getting in here are the actual bits that pass the predicate. So we're going to get rid of that. Come up here and get rid of this. That should get me only valid stuff. Oh, it's not formatting properly. That's always a terrifying sign. Come on. There we go. Okay, it's just slow. Just slow. I accept you being slow. Okay, so down here we need context. What is attributes here? These are attributes whose fully qualified matches the name. Right. So you should be exactly what I'm looking for. And I think there's always only exactly one. I guess I'm confused on why I would get anything different. Because this guy is looking for a argument list. Constructor arguments. I'm sort of expecting named arguments. Oh. Let's go look at that attribute, because I don't remember. I don't remember what it takes. So it's guaranteed a constructor argument. So I should be able to go after the constructor arguments. Constructor arguments. Sub 0. Do I need to... I feel like I should be able to just do value, and that should be a type. Right? Am I crazy? I feel like I should be able to get this back of... Let's see. Argument list, argument skip. Why was I skipping the first one? Am I... Oh, because the first one, because namespace would be the second one, but control type is guaranteed. Like, I'm confused why why this isn't an init or a private set. I don't know that it really matters. Guess we can private constructor this, or primary constructor this. That's fine. So this isn't explicitly looking for all other ones, and I did it in a for each so that I could grab it. So this is going to be context dot name attributes sub 0 named arguments, and I don't think I need to do the skip anymore. And named arguments is a immutable array of key value pairs. So a name type constant. So I can actually do this as var string name. Should be able to do that. What did I do wrong? Oh, typed constant. There we go. Boo. Argument name. Right, and so this is here, and this goes here now, and then this is like that. So why are you unhappy? Oh, because I deconstruct like that. Okay, so what is your problem here? No suitable deconstruct method found for key value pair. Oh, I can't deconstruct a key value pair because the deconstruct method doesn't exist on key value pair in my current target framework. Ha 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 ha. Well, we can fix that. So the deconstruction stuff did not exist in Net Standard 2.0, therefore it is not there on key value pair, despite the fact that it really should be. But because I am using a newer compiler, the compiler is still happy to do it. It just goes, hey, the type in this version of the framework, that doesn't exist. We can fix this. Let's go here. Trying to think of what I want to call this thing. Shim extensions? I'm basically just going to shim it in. Take too long to load. I do not like that window. Let's see. Public static class. I don't know. Shim extensions. We'll start here, right? And so we're going to go here. Or I guess maybe we should call it key value extensions. Key value, except for value ends in an E. Move. Okay. And then we go here and we go extension block, and then we're going to do key value pair. That sounds good there. Copilot, you've been both helpful and incredibly in the way, so shut up. And then we need to make you generic of T key, T value. There we go. And we're going to call you pair. And then now here's the fun part. We need I need an extension method on key value pair called deconstruct that has output variables. So I want it to appear as an instance member, so we declare it that way. Public void deconstruct. There, like that. And now this should just work. Booyah. So stupid. I love it. Argument type. So lesson here is that you can add in deconstruction to any type. You just need something with the right signature, the name deconstruct, void return, and relevant out parameters, and then poof, the compiler goes, I got you. And you can then do stuff like this, which I think the deconstruction into a for each is one of my favorites, because oftentimes in a for each, there are times where you don't just want a single value. It's like, no, I want more than just the one thingy. I want to break it apart into its constituents. Like in this case, because this is an array of key value pairs, I could just get the key value pairs and then go, okay, grab the key, grab the value, or I could break them apart and now I have individual, I've got two paired up thingies. Okay, so that works there. And then we switch on namespace and then it's going after the, let's see, argument type, because before I was grabbing the expression. And I'm trying to decide what, I don't know the right thing to do here, because before I was looking at the syntax, trying to figure out what this thing was, and I kind of feel like I could just grab the value. I don't know. I might be wrong here, so I'm going to comment this. But I think all of this code just becomes target namespace gets there. I think. I feel like this is like they made all of this stuff easier, which is great, but now it's slightly more interesting. Okay, so what are we looking at up here? So this is trying to get the value from the constructor argument. Like this feels like something I should be able to do, like cast it as a type and just use well, it's where I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know what I'm going to get. Because I don't know. Type seems like the wrong value. String you can get away with. But type is weird because type is something that exists in the BCL and there isn't a single system.type. What else is on here besides value? Value values is null. Kind. Typed constant kind. What do you have? What is this enum? I don't know this enum. Actually, I don't know most of the Roslyn APIs. Air primitive enum type array. But really, I actually kind of care that the value is a type. So if, well, okay, I'm tired of kind of yanking this thing out here. Let's just grab the attribute. Var generate helpers attribute. Let's just do that to save ourselves a little bit of extra bits. That did not copy what I expected it to. So I'm just going to type it there. Done. And then we're going to go here. Well, actually, I guess we'll go here. So if generate helpers attribute constructor arguments sub 0. I can't type. Kind is not equal to type. Let's see. Let's go here to do diagnostic. Like I don't. This is kind of one of those. The only way this is going to happen is if I change my attribute and don't update this generator to go with it. So that's fine. We know it's going to be of type. So I guess I'm just, the value at this point should be, I don't know if type is actually the right thing. Is it going to be an actual type, or is it going to be a, yeah, you only get values when it's an array. That's fine. But it feels like I'm just type symbol. We're gonna do that, and then I'm just gonna do type temp. I'm gonna do this, and we're probably gonna debug it and figure out where it falls over. So that okay, so that builds that up. That gets that going. We've got that. Great. That goes in there. Great. We're gonna come down here, and then because this is the end of the method, yeah. And this guy here, we're going to then just return. And then I need elements, mutable array empty for the diagnostics for now. At some point, we will add them. So we've got at least that one to do above. And then let's rename elements to be something. Cannot rename this. Okay, why can I not rename it? Okay, won't let me rename it when it's down below, but it'll let me jump to it and then rename it. Great. Great, thanks Visual Studio. That doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. Okay, so that gets me there. And then we need the source. So this, in theory, does a thing. It maybe works, maybe doesn't. Probably doesn't. We're going to absolutely turn this sucker on here. And then, well, let's leave the debugger off so I don't get bit. And then down here, this is not should generate. So I actually want to break this guy apart into its two pieces of this and this. Should generate, and that should deconstruct again. Great. Let's rename this from should generate to, how about provider? That feels a little better, since it is an incremental values provider. And then if visual element, this is actually visual elements. Means I should probably go fix it down here as well. Let's see. So if visual elements, and then we're going to do count greater than 0, do the thing. And the do the thing is the actual writing bits. So we're going to move this for each into something that's going to output. So let's see. Private static void write file. I don't know. We're gonna need to put something in here. Okay, so inside of here, we're gonna not do the for each because the for each is just wrapping everything. Right, so that goes like that. So I think we whack the for each on here and just assume that every type that comes in is going to be valid. And we bring these guys up here, I think. And then we do ignored types. And actually, maybe we just don't include it if it's in the ignored types. To do move down, because we shouldn't have it in here if it... let's see. Yeah, so I think what we're going to do is for each var visual element in visual elements. Great. That goes like that. And then all of these are going to go up here. And let's see, this is going to be visual element. And then this is checking if it's already generated for the type. I don't know if I care about this. I don't know that I care about this. I don't think that's a use case that I care about in the new source generator. I think that's handled. The write file, we're going to do that. Okay, so let's start with whacking these guys. You're now out of my way. And we're going to get rid of the for each there, and then we're coming down to the bottom. Get rid of this one. Right, that goes like that, that goes like that, that goes like that, and then we're going to pass in a visual element. We're going to name it type so that it just magically works with all the stuff. And we need the add source thing, which I'm going to go and not look at this Visual Studio instance, but I'm going to look at this one. I'm actually just going to steal this. I'll put diagnostics. I think this here, I want to actually come over here and think I want this. More like that. And what was the right file bits? Context add source generated code. So I need the context, which is a what type of thing? Source production context. Let's do that. Source production context. Maybe what we should do is string element file or element class. Yeah, let's do class. Because I'm thinking what I'm going to do here is rather than pass the context down, I'm going to return the source up and out. I think. Is there any reason not to? I don't think so. So I think I'm going to do this and send it. I'm going to just let the string builder live inside of there, and we will see where that goes. Yeah, so we're going to do that. I'm going to put you here, and then we're going to do get element content. And we're going to pass in visual element, get element content, something of that nature, something of that nature. Great. This is visual element. It goes like that. Rename this from type to visual element. And we're going to come down here and we're just going to string builder return builder to string. Okay. That gets me into there. That gets me into there. That gets me into there. Great, 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 great. Element class goes there. File name is there. That all matches. That builds that up. Great. What was this? Oh, this was just writing all the data for debug purposes. Sure. We'll leave it here just in case I decide I need it for debug. Okay, so that handles that. That handles that. That handles that. That builds this up. We no longer need you in existence. We no longer need any of you in existence either. We will delete all of this code. And then the key thing is what is, I don't know what type I expect to see on that constructor attribute. That is the key question to answer is what is that constructor attribute? Take you and put you down here. You're more the helper method anyway. Okay, I need to quit hitting that button on my mouse. Okay, so that goes there, that goes there, that goes there. For anybody curious, that's Control MO. I actually showed a colleague this week, and they were like, "Whoa!" They'd never seen that keyboard shortcut for collapsing everything. You can also find it in your edit menu, outlining, collapse to definitions, right? So Control M, Control O. So if you ever want to deal with your expansion stuff, you can always find it in the edit menu under outlining, or just memorize the keyboard shortcuts. Okay. And now I would like to debug this sucker. Because I don't think I have a special... Yeah, I don't have a special test for my test project. Because that felt like way too many levels of recursion. Okay, so we are going to go into our debugger debug. Add that in. And then I want to catch it, I don't know. I'm assuming I'm going to get into here just fine, so we'll just grab it here and verify what we see. So we are going to rebuild this guy first, because order is absolutely going to matter here. Then this guy references him. Just want to confirm that that is the case. Right? XAMLTest generator, good. So he has it here. The reason for the separation of the two projects is because one is for distribution with the NuGet package and one is for use just inside of this one. We're going to go here, attach. We should be at that debug break or debugger launch. Yep. So we're going to go F5. And then we should get to our breakpoint. No symbols have been loaded for this document. What? Okay, I should get to here. Why do you not have any debug symbols? Let's see, modules. Let's see, XAMLTest. Let's see here. I think what we can do here is, what is the, I think I just want embedded symbols here. Hey, Copilot, help me out. I want embedded symbols in the XAMLTest generator. I don't remember what the property is. Debug symbols, is that it? Is that it? Maybe? I think is that it? I can see you have a power of debug type to embedded. Should. Oh, however, the correct property, debug type. There. Thank you. That's all I needed. I just needed that, Copilot. Go away. I don't need you anymore. Okay. So I think now if I rebuild this guy. All right, debuggers keep popping. JC, good morning. Good morning. How are we doing today? Welcome in. We are attempting to get XAMLTest source generators updated to the incremental source generator API so that it stops being a bit of a pain. Okay, so I'm going to rebuild this guy. Then we're going to rebuild here, and we should get a debugger pop. So, as is its custom, it is going to absolutely pop on the wrong screen. But now you'll note symbols loaded because I just embedded them in. And part of what triggered me to do this was seeing the path was in local data temp, meaning it's being copied over. And so rather than futzing with it, I'm just like, nah, screw it. Okay, so now if I look at this guy here, I should hit breakpoint there. Okay, F5, F5, F5. There we go. Okay, so we get into there. Great, great, great. Let's see. Have you ever used Fluent Validation and MVVM Toolkit in a WPF app? So MVVM Toolkit, 100%, because that's in my template. Fluent Validation, I don't know that I've used it in an MVVM style one, but I don't know that it would make a big difference. I just want to make sure I get this right. So the Fluent Validation bits, there's always, it goes back and forth, right? Like this is actually kind of nice in a lot of cases for doing nice validation stuff. And so I've used it on other projects. I don't think I've ever used it in a WPF MVVM toolkit project, but I have used it elsewhere. And it's not bad. Like it is perfectly useful for especially doing this kind of stuff because it gives you a nice API. I will say there was a handful of people who were a little unhappy. I think this Fluent Assertion is the one that changed their sponsorship on here. I'm trying to remember. One of the Fluent libraries changed their licensing stuff. And I don't remember if it was this one or not. But yeah, no, I have no problem with it. I think with a lot of the fancier assertion libraries, I think it's a lot of preference as far as how people want to describe what their expectations are. And this is a very nice way of doing it. So is there anything in particular with like MVVM Toolkit that you've been running into as far as leveraging it? because I wouldn't expect it to be too terribly difficult to leverage. Unless it's maybe the DI related stuff. For what it's worth, my if you are interested, my .NET templates do have a. So for anybody interested, the templates do have, or I should say, my WPF one in here does have DI injection stuff kind of plugged in by default. So it's worth calling out. Like, it does do its own main method. It does set up a host builder where you can do kind of configure services stuff. One thing I've contemplated doing on like the DI registration bits is not just having it in this callback delegate, actually break it out into something separate, because in an app of significant size, this gets big, and I find myself often pulling bits out of that into like shared extension methods or otherwise. Like, this is fine for something small, but if this gets big, I usually like to separate it out a little bit for what it's worth. But it's kind of there as a sample of, hey, here's, like, if I'm going to start a new WPF app, this is my starting layout, because this absolutely gets me where I want to go. Okay. Did I not hit my other breakpoint? I did not hit my other breakpoint. Maybe I should breakpoint here. We'll kill this. And I'm going to rebuild here. I'm going to attach to that. And we're going to run. Okay, so we do come in here. Syntax node. What is compilation unit syntax? So I'm probably failing this first check. Come on, show me the output of this check. Because this guy, yeah, so it's returning false, so it's never going in. So what is node? Compilation units. So this doesn't have a kind of... That's cool, Izzy. Working on a custom plugin framework so I can create a basic app and add features and views as vertical slices via plugins. I'm assuming that's something closed source for work, or is it... Am I lucky and it's open source? Okay, syntax node. I'm just trying to decide where this guy lives, because this is... Attribute lists. So I think I actually... Do I just look at the attribute list syntax? I'm just trying to decide if this is... Like, I know this is my own generated list. Attribute list syntax. But I wonder if I actually want to be looking at attribute lists. It's just weird to me. Is generate helpers attribute? Because what I asked for was for attribute with metadata name. Eventually we'll make it open source, but just a proof of concept at the moment. Okay, cool. Let me know when you do it. Okay, I gotta look here because something in the back of my mind is telling me there's already a... Okay, getting a little annoyed at the debugging. This is one of the annoying parts about doing a debugger launch inside of the thing that's switched. Having this debugger launch inside of my... get rid of this. Rebuild this so it stops grabbing it, and then we'll go here. So context, syntax provider. I think there's a helper specifically for... For attributes with metadata name. That really the I thought there was something else that would maybe not. So if that's the case, and this guy is going to come in like that, so what I really want to do is node well, containers, annotations, contains directives. Where is this was just a compilation unit syntax, right? So node is compilation unit syntax, compilation attribute list. So you are on here. I'm just curious if this feels like something that's going to bite me. I would like to go look at, ironically, the MVVM toolkit GitHub, because I want to look at what they did in here, because this is, I think, one of the best for people looking for good examples of source generators. Sergio is brilliant at it. And so the trick with plagiarizing other people's code is knowing who to plagiarize from. Okay, so for attribute with metadata name. Oh, I see. This is there. Oh, that's right. This is Sergio's extension. This isn't something that's actually. Oh no, this is a polyfill. Okay, so this is him polyfilling it backwards. So that's not really the one I want to look at. I want to look at a usage of it. Relay command generator. That sounds great. That sounds great. So it goes hunting for the relay command, and the node is going to be the thing that the attribute is declared on top of. In this case, a relay command attribute gets declared on top of a method. And for my purposes, the attribute is declared at the assembly. So having it be part of the compilation unit kind of makes sense. Let's see. I think I feel the urge to leave future Kevin a note. Is only available at the assembly level. Attribute lists any, and then the attribute I feel like is going to have something along the lines of its type. Where do I get its name or similar? Just called name on here? Where do I find? Nope, it's not name. Let's just look at properties for a second. Please stop moving around. That would be really convenient. The closed bracket, full span is missing. I don't want the span. I already know what the target is. Contains structure. It feels like I'm going to need to actually typecast this guy, because what are you? Attribute list syntax. If you are an attribute list, oh, because there's two ways this can be done. Oh, that's right. I'm going to change one of these just so I hit both cases real quick. And actually, what I'll do is I'm going to do this. So I believe what I'm going to get is 2 in this case. Um, I so I think that's why it's an attribute list, is because those will come in, and I think what I want to do is grab, because if this is an attribute list, why can I not, how do I inspect what's actually on it? Because an attribute list syntax should have something about it to know. Get text? That can't be right. Okay, we're gonna need to hold this. Var foo gets node as, not is, and we're gonna just do that for a moment, and I'm gonna grab you here because I clearly need to inspect this a little bit. Actually, you know what we could probably do? If we use Sharp Labs, sharplab.io, Sharp Lab. Do I just have the wrong thing? There we go. There we go. So what I want is I need to go grab my, because this will get us a good way of looking at it. So I would like to grab my attribute. Great. And we will put you in here. Great. And then I need to grab a usage of it, which is going to be something like this. And because this is not going to work for a thingamabobber, it won't know of this type, so I need to dial this down to something like string. Okay, let's see here. Let's put you down inside of here. Will you play nice if I do that? Okay, and then from here, we should be able to look at the syntax tree and see what I'm going to get. Okay, so there's our compilation unit. There's our attribute list. And then attribute list has attribute on it. And then attribute has name. So I think that's what I'm after. The attribute list should have attribute, assuming appropriately typecast. If I go back to here, let's see. The foo attribute lists. I feel like I should be able to do something like that, and then this is attributes, and then there's that, and then this should have a name. Right. I'm just trying to decide if there's anything I actually need to look at here. I mean, I guess there is. So return. What did Sergio do on his? Just look here real quick. Because on their filter, they're checking if the attribute is declared on a method declared syntax. Does he ever use compilation unit syntax anywhere? I'm now curious because it feels like because this is being done at an assembly, this is higher than what is reasonably needed. So reaches all the way up to getting the compilation. So let me. Okay. That goes there. So I guess the answer is no. So it's just reaching up to grab the compilation unit, but not actually leveraging it for anything of not actually in the predicate. Okay. I do wonder if okay. compilation and compilation attributes and any Copilot. Let's not do that. And a dot. Why are you really trying to hose me over? Stop helping me type. I guess actually what I want is attribute lists. Select many. X dot attributes. And then if there are any that are named, now let's stick with the X. Any that have the name of generate helpers. Yeah. Copilot, I really wish you'd shut up and stop. You're getting a little too aggressive and you're not helping. Name syntax. Oh, does name syntax why am I, where did my Sharp Labs go? Name syntax and then identifier. Okay, so it's name syntax, name dot identifier. How does one get all the way into this? Cannot convert. Yeah. I hear you. But what do you actually have that is the thingy? Trailing is parent trivia kind, span, syntax tree, etc. Show only target type matches? Was that? That's very cool. When did this get added? So you can look through your IntelliSense and say, hey, the right-hand side is a string. Find me the thingy that's going to give me a string. That's kind of cool. I'm kind of thinking it's something of this. Maybe let's go here. And then let's go here, and then we will rebuild our generator project. Rebuild. And then rebuild again. Now we get the debugger thing. He'll just trust me that the window launches because now we're attached. Okay, so kind of want to just know what this is going to return. Let's go immediate window because I'd like to know it first rather than after. Generate helpers. Great. So this should now give me back a true. Yes, that is now a true, which means I should fall into here. Okay, now we're cooking with fire. That gets us in generator attribute syntax. So now we're going to have to do something here because this was individual attributes before. Oh, interesting. So it actually breaks those other two up into two separate ones. Okay, so we need to, so this guy's going to need to iterate and build up from each of those. So let's turn off the debug because it's going to keep popping up on my other screen and annoy the crap out of me. And now that I know what I'm looking at, yeah, stop it. Debug. And then rebuild. Okay, so let's go down here and then we're going to build this guy up. So this guy here is going to for each through var attribute in context.attributes. Okay, so we're going to need to do this for all of them. There. So that gets that building. Okay, so And I don't know that I want to make any assumptions on these attributes, given how these things are going. So, if let's see, attribute class. I kind of want to know its type name and just double check to make sure I'm getting what I expect. Base type, contain type. Because this is attribute class. Where do I go from attribute? What is attribute class? Is it a type named type symbol? Because what I really want to do is XAMLTest dot generate helpers attribute. Like that's what I would like to do is have that, and then specifically if this doesn't match, continue. Right? We're just gonna not muck around with this guy, and then we're gonna abuse the new fancy button. That is very convenient. I think we can just get the symbol name returns empty if unnamed. Okay. So that clears all of that out. And then this guy becomes attribute. And then I guess I gotta deal with this now at some point. So let's run the debugger obnoxious bit back on. Rebuild. And then I want to put in something like that. I should get into here. 3, 2, 1 should trigger a rebuild automatically once it realizes the dependency's there. Okay. That should hit our breakpoint. We don't. I'm confused. We did not hit our breakpoint. Do it here then, because we should have come into here. Okay, so attribute class dot name. Oh, it doesn't have the fully qualified name on there is why. Attribute class, non-public members. Let's try a handful of things here real quick because I think I can do the minimal display string. I don't think that gets me quite where I want to be. Struct, that doesn't quite seem like what I'm after. Big head's in the way. Hang on. There we go. Let's just inspect this guy, I guess, and come in here. Because we can look at what things look like they might have it. Original definition, that doesn't seem like how I want to go after it. The one at the top was the one constructed from. Member names. What are those? Cedar. Control type namespace. Doesn't seem, again, quite what I'm after. Instructor. Guess we can just go, like, it's no worse than where we were before. Generate helpers attribute. Save, and then let's step. Suppose I probably should have. Yeah. I get it. You're unhappy because hot reload in the middle of something like that is no bueno. Go in here. I'm going to rebuild this guy before we get too carried away. Cancel all the debug prompts that are spamming my other monitor. Rebuild all successful. Take the next run in. Okay, so we go here. F5, F5, F5. Okay, so now we get through this. Okay, so we've got 3 debug processes all going at the same time. Okay, what is this value? What are you though? Like what? This is actually content. So it's actually here that I want to look at. And what is value in this case? Right? Because content, attributes, constructor argument. So this is really attribute constructor arguments. Constructor arguments 0 typed constant. So this guy here, so the value is actually typed constant as typed constant. Okay, so that gets me into there. Now we got to fix this guy up. So this guy is going to just be attribute because I want to iterate over all of these. I guess because we've done the type check above, we can probably hard cast this and be okay. We can't use an as because type constant is a value type. Unboxing a possibly null value here. So let's do kill this guy off in favor of this. Let's see, we're gonna go here. We're gonna go here, and then if let's see, attribute constructor arguments is not typed constant temp continue agnostic. All right. What are you unhappy about? Oh, I can't do missing compiler system index get offset. I don't really want to polyfill that. And I can't do, so we'll do it the old dumb way. Is length 1 and is not length 1 or attribute constructor argument sub 0. I guess I can't do this with a not. But just add some nesting and call it a day. Trying to be too clever with my syntax, and I don't know if this is a good idea. Because the not and the or are a great way to shoot yourself in the foot. No one likes a not or. So is length 1. And let's see, so value is constant. We're going to do this. And then we're going to come down here and we're just going to slap in an extra one of these. Done. That goes there. That goes away. Let's see. And then type temp. And I think this type here is actually the type symbol. So we're going to rename this guy to type constant. That way it's clear. That gets us into there. That gets us into there. Hopefully now the rest of this code just works. I'm going to grab it here, come back up, turn on. Oh, the debugger's already there. Great. I didn't realize I had a ton of Windows popped on my other monitor. Excellent. Okay, rebuild there. Rebuild there. And there's the window. Okay, so there's that. F5, F5. Okay, so we have an attribute. Great. Constructor argument, length 1. And it should have a typed constant. If I F5 over, what? Okay, which one of you two is failing? That's true. And the second one appears to be failing me. So what are you? I thought we just checked this. What are you exactly? Non-air named type symbol. What? Non-air name type symbol. Constructor argument sub-0. It's this raw view that's probably biting me. Where's my locals window? I don't like the way this is doing this. Okay, so constructor arguments. This guy here really value is name type symbol. Okay. If that thing is a named type symbol, this thing still then works, right? No, of course not. That would make sense. That would be simple and straightforward. Okay, what are you then? Okay, so what is this name type symbol actually add to the thing? Arity, generic, is implicit, member names, original definition, constructed from, tuples underlying type is an extension marker, associated symbol. Really just want to know what, I just want to get your type. I guess it's probably on type symbol actually. Is tuple types, is special type, original definition. Because at the end of the day, what I need is a type symbol. Right? Because that's ultimately what I'm trying to get to is I just need the type out of this thing. So where do I get your type from? Namespace or type symbol. Let's just keep going up the food chain. Where are you? Get member is type, and then is symbol isn't going to have it on there because not all symbols have types. That is a whole lot of not helpful. A whole lot of not helpful. Okay, so let me check my diff here real quick because I vaguely recall the old one doing something very similar, and I'd like to remember what exactly it was doing. So on visit node, argument list did some stuff, and it went to the type info. So it actually went to the type argument and then pulled the info, which is somewhat heavy-handed when I believe we've got this here already. How do I get all the way in? Because where is my immediate window? That's what we want. That's what we want. Oh, vey. Oh, vey. Okay, so non-air name type symbol. So I'm going to go out on a limb. There's no way that that's not internal. That's why I assume it's going to be that. And you must have a type info in here somewhere. Type info. Right? Isn't that what oh no, I type symbol. Of course. How silly of me. Okay, so here, type arguments. The type arguments that's been substituted for the type parameters is generally type parameter itself. This is a non-generic type, returns an empty immutable array. So this is going to be a non-generic type. So, but I don't want this. I don't want the generic types. I want the actual thingy. So it must be down on type symbol. The declared base type of this type or null. The object type, interface types, and pointer types do not have a base type. Base type of the type parameter is its effective base class. Yes, but what is your type? I want your type, not your base type. Why is this hard? Where do I get your type from? Let's see. We're going to do this. No bang. And we are just going to go a spelunking right here, because that's the only way I think I'm going to find this out. I guess we could double check it in Sharp Labs, because we come into here. I don't know that this actually tells me what I want to know, though, because I'm going to get the argument list, but I'm not looking at a type of expression at this point. In this case, it's predefined type, but I guess I could actually do, I could circle this and do that. Maybe I do need to reach up to the type to get it. I do. Do I actually need to go? Because this is what it did here. Do I actually need to context? Target node, semantic model. This doesn't quite have it. Chris, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining. Hopefully you had a wonderful stream. All right, Dirt. I hope I'm not completely butchering that name. Feel free to correct me on how to display it. Tonight we are having fun with C# source generators. So the basic premise is the .NET compiler is extendable, and so partway through the compilation, you have the ability with a source generator to just inject extra code as part of it. Not quite as powerful as some other things because it is very much additive, which is all you can do is bring more stuff into the mix. But hey, extensible. Thank you. Ignore the first and last letters. It's just writer. But yeah, so that is the premise here, and I have had this library called XAMLTest for a while, which is effectively my own UI testing library for WPF. And just to clarify, the key difference here is most UI testing libraries focus on simulating user input and testing kind of from that holistic user level, whereas this one is more designed to be able to test UI elements in isolation, because I maintain some WPF libraries for material design. So for people who want to bring in material design into their desktop apps, it's a great way to do it. Oh, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate that. But users aren't real anyway. Chris, I love you. So that's the premise of what this library is designed to do, is just kind of give you that interaction to be able to say, hey, fire up this little bit of the UI, test it in isolation, and then more beyond just like mouse clicks and keyboard input, it gives access to all of the visual elements for web developers. Think DOM. Because most UI testing libraries on Windows desktop, they don't give you access to all the properties of the DOM. They give you a handful of them, but even simple things like give me the background color is not possible going at it from the accessibility layer. And so this gives me full access to all of the stuff, and especially when you're building like desktop styles or templates, you kind of want to be able to test those things, because you can get a lot of cool animations and triggers and conditional stuff. And most of the time that code goes completely untested. And since I maintain a library that its whole purpose in life is to be those styles and templates, I want good testability on it. So that's the premise. If people are interested, yeah, I don't think I got it here. Grab it. 1 second. For people who are interested. So in particular, here is the material design project. So if anybody is interested in material design for your desktop apps, that guy lives there. And then if you poke around too long at it, you will come across this library, which is the one that we're working on here. And there was a question earlier in the chat about using it for kind of arbitrary UI testing of apps, and you certainly can, but it is very much a purpose-built library where the target audience is me, and the target audience is very happy with it. So I'm happy if other people get value out of it, but if it seems like it's a little less documented or similar, it's because it's targeting a very niche audience. Because most people, I think very few people build out WPF theming libraries. I think there's outside of the paid products, I think there's about 4 good open source ones out there. And of those, I think I'm the only one who UI tests my stuff. So, because I just can't tolerate not testing. I have to have tests. I need that warm, fuzzy feeling of getting a green check mark. That's important to me. Which is awesome. Okay. So, but that is the unfortunate. So if it looks like I'm in a complete mess, it's because I am a hot mess at the moment, and I'm trying to figure out the source generator, because we just upgraded from old version of .NET to new version of .NET, and they unfortunately changed the API for the source generators. And in the latest version of .NET, it now causes errors if you use the old APIs. So we are slowly walking our way through this, because we are debugging a source generator that's running against a compilation of the project itself. So we're very, very inception-y tonight, which is great. So and then last thing I'll show, the basic premise here is all of these attributes, they take in a constructor parameter with a type, and the source generator needs to use that type to generate a bunch of extension methods. These are all the built-in WPF controls, and then this attribute gets used inside of other libraries for people's custom controls. Okay, and the question here is, how the heck do I go from whatever this name type symbol is to the actual type symbol itself? Because I need to get down to type symbol, and I cannot seem to figure out how to get all the way there. It looks like original definition might be the way to go. Because what does original definition give me? Let's see. Type constant, original definition. You're also a name type symbol. So does that... Can I just do that? I think I can get away with that. Just put the original definition in, and then we're off to the races. I think. Question. Here. because I don't know that constructed from is where I want to go. I don't think that's the proper place, and the only other option that actually shows it at the top level is going in there, because containing namespace, containing symbol, neither of those are actually what I care about. Original definition would get me all the way there. I'm just looking at which things actually get me to the appropriate type symbol object. And you know what? We're going to go with that. So let's kill that execution, go up and turn. I think we're going to turn off the debugger. And what I heard is YOLO send it, because that is the way to do this. So come on. Sorry, my debugger is popping up modal dialogues on my other screen, which is great. What happens when you edit code that runs as part of the compiler inside of the IDE that's running the compiler? Okay, rebuild. Be cool if you just built. That would make me feel warm and fuzzy. We'll go take a, if it does actually compile all the way, we'll have to go look at it. It's taking longer than I would expect. Not a good sign. Okay, rebuild successful. It's a plus in the right direction. But it's an absolute plus in the right direction. Now the question is, do the tests build? Because the tests are the ones that actually consume the generated output. So if the tests compile, that's going to be really, really good. And then if they actually pass, yeah, okay, so therein lies. Okay, so this get mode is testing the generator against a is testing against where that would be, because this is using that generate helpers with a color zone. So that it's not working against the third party ones, at least. Is that really the only ones that are failing though? So it really is only, this is a generic base, and once again, it's just testing these to make sure it can generate out properties appropriately. Because that's the idea, is when you have a custom control like this, in this case it's just a derived class from button, is does it generate appropriate extension methods for the getters and setters of this property? Right? The concept of the generator is simple. Getting it working, that is another story entirely. You do reference, okay, you do reference the generator. Oh, I wonder if because I unloaded the other source generator, it's not going to run completely. I'm sort of wondering if, yeah, I've got platform flags all over the place. And we can just sort of fix that by slapping a 7 or otherwise on here, but that is less concerning to me. How can I test this without going through and just fixing the other generator? How do I know if it's actually passing or not? Because in theory, I believe I can drop out the other generator and get away with it. Because it's only generating additional. So the second unit test generator that I have here, this guy is, its only purpose in life is to generate more tests. But I don't believe I have anything in here that requires those tests to be generated. Except for maybe these. Because they are actually leveraging partials. Which this is the other feature of C# that makes source generators actually really cool, is you can spread your type definitions across multiple files. And the compiler is perfectly happy about that. The problem here is this is expecting to be extending a type that now the source generator that would create it isn't running, and so that is now a problem. I'd like to test this somewhat in isolation. That way I'm not moving too many things all at once. Okay, so that makes me feel better. Still way too many warnings. And the other guy didn't gen what I expected for grabbing this. So the question then becomes, for this guy here, if I turn on the element generator, let's capture him here maybe? Turn on the debug, and then we'll just have to be somewhat intelligent about which one we grab, because we're probably going to have to just F5 until we find the right context. Because this generator is now used by 2 projects. So I'm not going to know which one it is until I grab it. So let's see. Is this the right one? 5 context attributes. How many? 117. No. Debugger, detach all. Guess it wants to launch a new debugger instance. Too many Visual Studios. Stop it. This is where you accidentally fork bomb yourself. Yeah, I understand. You're unhappy. I get it. Okay, F5. Should really turn on just my code and stop going in there. Context. Be something smaller than 117. Dang it. Nope, that's not it. Give me the other one. So in theory, the second compile should catch it, because the first one, context attributes length 1. Okay, we got it. All right, there's the WPF color zone. Okay, so where are you not working? Let's go find you. Gets through there, gets through there, gets through there. There's nothing in there. Great. Original definition. WPF color zone. Great. Grabs the type. Does the properties. Gets the members. Does the stuff. Goes through. I'm kind of tempted to just run to here and see what we get in properties. Great. We found properties. Mode, corner radius. Great. Those things get built, added. We've got all the stuff. Huzzah. Okay, so the finding of it works just fine. Now the question becomes, when we go to write it, what happens down here? So visual elements, we come in here and we've got a handful of them. Color zone, content control, a handful of these. Some of these I think are going to get ignored. So let's come down to here. Right, there's the color zone. It has all the stuff. Does it generate out the right class? Certainly looks like what I would expect. There's the get mode extension there. Get corner radius extension there. Done the thing. Gonna add the source in of, and it's generating XAMLTest generator extension. Great. And then this one here is, it has a generic base. Handful of these other ones I do want to go through and get rid of. Surprised it doesn't get picked up twice, or it comes through twice, one for each of those sides. So that surprises me a little bit, but not enough to panic. I think what we're going to do here is I'm going to move this guy out because I'm tired of looking at this. And so we're going to come down here and because this is targeting, it's looking for full name, which is type. Where did type come from? I want to know that what's the earliest point we could do it. So if I go here and I go type, that should get me out. That should prevent it from spending time building up all of this stuff when we know we're going to ignore it. Let's see. because this checks if it already exists, and then if we've already done it, we skip it again. Then we build that out. Okay, so we'll rebuild the generator, and that should at least make our life mildly easier. Okay, so why would it not write those out? I feel like there's something in my compilation. Let's see. Because it's unhappy about full name. What were you doing in here with this? Oh, so it's literally, oh, I've got an extra check here. So it's not full name, it's literally just, because this is just two-stringing the type. So let's just duplicate that here for the moment. There. Two-string the type. If that matches the fully qualified name, we're done. We should probably, let's do string full name, because we really shouldn't be doing multiple copies of this thing all over the place. So we'll just do that. We're using it there, we're using it there, and we're also using it down below. So that'll get rid of at least those instances. Okay. Makes that a little simpler. Come in, recompile the generator. Let go of it. Come on. Compiler's going crazy. I know. You're unhappy that I changed the thing that you were. I changed the assembly that you had loaded for the purposes of compiling. I get it. You're unhappy. Get over yourself. Okay. Rebuild, and then I want to check the output window and watch it go, because I do have a suspicion that there's going to be more here that I'm not anticipating. Okay, so we'll grab that one. F5. And I want to look at visual elements. I'm just going to do a pin here so I can keep track of it. So 94, short version, not the guy we're after. We're looking for something with single digits. Attach to the next one. 5. 94 again. Keep going. 6. Okay, so what do you have in here that we're going to be generating? Color zone, content control. I'm just surprised to see some of these in here, because I thought some of these were already excluded. Like dependency objects shouldn't be making it into this list. I thought, because my excluded types should have. Well, actually, maybe not, because it needs to generate out. Even though those are the abstract bases, these are the abstract bases for. These are the abstract bases for those custom controls. So even though, let me expand this. Maybe I'm just too dumb to know my own. So because color zone derives from content derives from control derives from framework element, which is UI element, which is dependency object. So it's the entire base hierarchy all the way through. So that makes sense. Gets this, generates the file name, adds the source in. Great. F5. We'll look at this one here, and I assume this is going to be basically the same thing. Generic base, button base, content control content, all the way down. It's because we've got two implementations of generic base, int and decimal. Great, full hierarchy there. And the weird part is it seems to be adding it, but then also not compiling when it doesn't find it. So I am a bit lost as to why it wouldn't be compiling it. If we go here, analyzers, expand this out. My big head's in the way. Yeah, the wonderful part about source generators is when the compilation fails, you don't see the generated output, which is all kinds of which is exactly why we have this guy here. We can add this in, but it does appear to be generating is the confusing part for me. Why would you not? Actually, you know what we're gonna do? I have a sinking suspicion that there is. Sure, fine. That there is a caching issue going on because when Visual Studio starts, it keeps the compiler process alive, the MS Build process that's actually doing the compilation, so that it doesn't have to process start every time. And I am wondering if it is holding on to an old version of the generator, and I am getting extra hits that I shouldn't be getting. That is working theory. If I rebuild it here from a clean state, then I'm going to cancel the attaches, see if it actually goes through and builds, because it does generate out the classes I would expect. That's all the XAMLTest compilations done. Okay, something. Warning, failed to generate source. It will not contribute. Exception. Ah, it's throwing an exception. Hint name. Ah, that's what's biting us. Okay. Okay, good. So the source generator is throwing an exception. The hint name is not unique. And that bit of code that I said, oh, I don't think we need it. I was an idiot and we absolutely need it. Okay. So specifically, the check that is biting us is. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? The syntax generator where it was validating if it already had added the type, it wouldn't add it a second time on different runs. Where are you? Where I'm missing where the check is. Because it would look for duplicate types before writing them out. This check here, where it was looking at the compilation unit, getting types by metadata and saying, have I already generated for this type? If so, skip it. That's what is breaking it. That is exactly what it's breaking it, because these two are coming through and we need to be able to check if we've already generated for it so that when the second compilation comes through, it can handle it. Okay. Okay. So I guess the question is, I'm just wondering if I could fix this in a different way by limiting what comes through here. So this guy down here is the one that was doing the check of have I already generated it. So it's the old code looks something like this, right? It's hunting for the thing, but I don't know that context gives me an easy way of looking at what has already been added to the syntax tree. Yeah, because all it has is report diagnostic, add source, cancellation token, which isn't exactly awesome. But I am wondering if part of the issue is our filter here where it goes, is this a generated one? We say yes, we return back all of the attributes. And then here we just iterate through all of them. I am wondering if the better solution here is, because this guy is calling back with each of them for attribute with metadata name. And I am thinking what we want is not quite this. Because this is coming from Oh, this isn't the MV. Oh, I guess because I have a newer code analysis, I'm no longer hitting the extension method that they shimmed in. I think the issue is probably the method that I'm calling, because I don't think this is what I want to be going for. Because we're going to hit this callback for every instance of that attribute. Is that true? We definitely appear to be seeing it twice. And I'm wondering if we're hitting it for all 117. So context, syntax provider, create syntax provider. And I think this is getting me fairly close to where I'm expecting to be. Is check, because I don't know if I want this for attribute with name. Because this is coming through here, and this helper is great for pulling out all of the attributes, but I'm for attribute with simple name, but because we're only doing assembly level attributes, I think it's not what I actually want. So he pulls the semantic model, compiler unit syntax, is lambda expression is declared symbol, pulls it out, get matching attributes. I mean, it's very convenient. However, create syntax provider, I think might be more akin to what I want. Create syntax receiver, because what are you unhappy about here? Cannot contain a reference to this or base. Is this not a static? Static. Argument 1 cannot convert generator syntax. Oh, generator. Oh, I see. It's because I typed it the strong name. So it's just generator syntax contexts. I don't know that I care too much about that. I think that'll get me. Let's do this. That gets me in there, and then I just need to grab this sucker and put you here and put an equal sign there, and then that is now happy. And then down here on visual element, context is no longer going to have attributes, but I think that's actually better because we want it to pull back the individual attributes. The only way this works is if the compilation unit has attribute lists all the way through. And I think this guy just needs to be typed in. Syntax node attributes. Let's see. Assembly get attributes, I think, because this guy gives me back the attribute data. I think then this gets replaced with that. And then let's just go var. Let's back this guy up just 1 second. Let's just do that so that I don't make that mildly more tolerable to look at. Okay, I think that gets me. Because what I'm really looking for is not coming into this. I would like this incremental values provider to not be hit multiple times. And I think that's the thing, is when we do it the other way, we're hitting it multiple times. I don't know. Maybe that's not a bad thing though. And I'm now second guessing myself because by forcing it to go through all of them, it means that we don't have a good way of going incrementally. And visual element is it's a record type, so we could hash set it. Okay, I'm rejecting what I said a moment ago, and I think what I want to do is attempt to hash set my way to victory here. I think I want to just hold you for a second. I think I want to look at this guy because I have a suspicion. Catch and analyze exceptions. Catch analyzer exceptions. Yeah, no. I think what I want to end up doing though is how do I get the data to flow through of what I have done before? Because I want to hold on to this. I think I can. Well, let's try this. Naive approach. Visual element. Generated types. Copilot, knock it off. You are not helping, and I would like you to stop. Let's see. So if generated types add visual element, so compiler is trying to help me. So the beauty of a hash set is the add method returns false if the item was pre-existing, so you can easily just use this to go through here. This guy is going to be unhappy because it needs to reference and close over this. I am slightly worried that this is going to bite me in terms of what gets generated. And I'm just trying to decide if this is actually what I want to do. You know what? While I think, I'm going to build it and we're going to try it anyway. Because there is a very real chance that this is exactly what we're looking for. And rebuild, and I'm going to not attach the debugger, and we're just going to send it. Because I think the worst case scenario is it works on the first compile and fails on the second because it holds on to this. Because the whole point of the incremental value provider is that it can incrementally provide values. Okay, output list. Let's see, exception, the hint name added, the source file must be unique. So it actually started two separate instances and that didn't actually capture it. Okay. So really at the end of the day, I need to figure out how the heck to know what I've already generated to avoid generating it twice. Just our source output. Okay. Let's back this up. Let's back this up. I do not know the right way to do this. Put the static back. Okay, Copilot, now you can have your time to shine. This is your chance to totally redeem yourself. Okay. This source generator is currently failing because it ends up generating multiple files with the same name, as visual element will have a separate instance for all base classes, such as dependency object. I only want to generate one of these files. How can I check if I have already called add source for that type? I don't know that that's actually a good prompt. Struggling to figure out how to word it properly, but go ahead, Copilot, impress me. And while you're thinking about life and coming up with solutions, I want to look at this top level context because I think deduplicate the visual elements before generating files. Here's how to fix it. I strongly suspect you're about to be an idiot. Yeah, you're about to be an idiot. Thanks. No, that is wrong. There are multiple invocations that come into the register source output for elements that are added from different files, as well as tiered compilation. I can't simply check the individual list because it needs to be unique across the entire compilation. Yeah, I kind of gathered you were about to be an idiot, Copilot. Don't feel bad. It's hard. You're absolutely right. Yes. The solution is used to collect from all invocations into a collection and then dedupe. Oh, is that it? Is that the solution? Oh, is that okay? Okay. Yeah, it has some incomplete code because I'm working. Stop it. Yeah, I see the file is incomplete list in 91. Yeah. The dot collect, I think, is in fact going to be the right answer. Let me just look. What did Sergio do on his? What did Sergio do on his? Aha. I see a collect and then a select with a distinct. That sounds like I want to do something basically like that. That sounds much more akin to correct. So that's what I would imagine. Yeah. Good. I see the file now has incomplete comment block fixed. Now let me make the replacement. Go ahead. But just so you know, Copilot, you're probably about to get undone. What the heck did you just do? All diagnostics. I like that. I like that. Dear heavens, what have you done here? You iterate through all the diagnostics. Okay. Sure. We'll keep you for now. Let's verify the change compiles correctly. Yeah, shut up, go away. I'm gonna fix this. I don't trust you to do the right thing, Copilot. You're about to shoot me in the face. So So the dot collect is likely, I just want to look at the docs on this guy. I suspect this is exactly what, great. No docs, of course. In Microsoft, XML docs are a thing. Okay, so, but I think this diagnostics is comparable. So yeah, it is equatable. So we can just distinct the list at this point. So all of this garbage here is kind of worthless. So we can just do providers. This guy here should be a what? Providers. Why are you failing to find the type? Providers is an immutable array of diagnostics. Yeah. I get that. Right, so I want to do select many, and I want all of the diagnostics, and then I want a distinct list of those diagnostics, pretty please. There we go. None of this garbage. Done. This is the whole reason why we make eye-comparable stuff in the first place. And I think I can get rid of all of this, and I think I can even go as far as to get rid of this if. Because what we can do here is effectively the same thing. We can just do, get rid of that. Providers, select many, X, and then visual elements, and then we just distinct them. Problem solved. Okay. Okay, so now let's rebuild the generator, then we'll go rebuild the project to make sure my world doesn't fall over and end, because that would be cool. And now we're going to rebuild. We'll watch our output window. I will promptly cancel the debug pop-up windows that are inevitably about to spam me for all of the tiered compilation levels. It should pull all of those in. Great. That goes in. Cancel that out. Okay. Well, you popped over. Failed to generate the hint name. Okay, so I need to grab you here and figure out why we're coming in, because I would have expected, if this works the way I think, that I wouldn't get hit multiple times. So we're going to rebuild just the tests here, because the other one, oh, I shouldn't have rebuilt the test. I think rebuilding the test is a problem. Let's grab debugger, launch. Come on, go to here. Let's see, providers 1, and you have 94. So I'm just going to pin you for a second so I can keep an eye on you. So you're not the one, you are not the one I am looking for. Okay, next debug window. There, launch. 94, not the one I am looking for. Something in a small numbers. That also did not hit what I needed. Okay, next. At some point I'm going to count these and figure out which one of these I want. 6. This scares me because I don't know that this is right. Okay, 6 there makes sense. 9 there makes sense. Okay, so it has gotten me a collection of both. Okay. That works. Close you, close you, close you. Now, I kind of just want to see what this is giving me back, because maybe this is my problem. Let's see. 2 list that sucker. Show them all to me. Okay, so that clearly didn't do what I expected. Because I see content control, and that's going to absolutely be a problem. Are these not eye-comparable objects? Did I just botch the comparability of the thingies? That is a thing I can do. It's a record type. Oh. It's a record type that contains an iRead-only list, and a read-only list is going to be populated with a list instance or an array, doesn't matter. And even though record types do value-based comparisons on all of their value-based members, that list is not a value-based member, and so it's going to fail. Got it. Okay. So I want a distinct by, effectively. So, I guess I don't have that, so I got to group them. That's annoying. Let's see. Group by type. And then don't need distinct, and then I can just select the key of the group. Oh, but that group by type, I guess what I actually want is I want the element, not the key, because if I go on the key gives me the type of the element, not the element itself. So we're gonna just start adding some stuff. Yeah. Okay. Rinse, repeat, try again. And rebuild this sucker, and then rebuild the tests, and then cross fingers and hope for the best. I hope. I'm thinking. Okay. I do have a small problem. My Mountain Dew is empty. No one panic. I have a second one. Okay. We're just gonna cancel the debugger attachment and just full send again. I keep feeling confident, and I probably should stop feeling confident. Come on, come on. Do the thing for me. Do the thing. Call as ambiguous between the following methods. Okay, now we are making progress. Okay, and this one here is going to break. Oh. That is an interesting... I have made my life challenging. Because it is defined both. So this get tag method is now defined both inside of my test project as well as in my main project under test. So the source generator is running against both. Let's see here. So the source generator is running against both the base library as well as the unit test project. Both of them are going and finding framework element as a base class. They both generate a get tag extension method for every visual element deriving from framework element. And that then causes a conflict because we only dedupe between an individual compilation. That is really obnoxious. I still like the collect. But I think down inside of here, when I'm getting the visual elements, this is the point where I actually have the ability to check if the type has been defined already. Because I believe this context will give me access. Let's get speculative type info. Type symbols and diagnosis. It did not actually appear in the source code. Ah, okay. I kind of want to be able to do get type info, but I kind of want to be able to just pass a type name. Because what I really want to ask is, does this type already exist? Because if it does, I can just bail early. Attribute syntax. Okay, we're going to go. Okay, Copilot, new thing. In Roslyn, how can I check if a type exists given the type's full name? Because that's really what I want to know is, given this, because get type info has the same problem. Stop it. Stop it. I just answer the question. Get type by metadata name. XML compilation. Get type by metadata name. So this is what I want to go after to know if it exists. So given an element down here, I want to see if it's already been defined and skip it, just like I would on the ignore types. So if we do this, the question is, given a visual element's full name, I need to be able to get the class name for the generation. So I need to look at the code that generates this. How does it pick out the class name? So it does. So fully qualified name is going to be visual element dot namestate, visual element type name. Isn't that just? Do I not have full name? Well, about to. Public's full type name. Yeah, thank you. I don't. Yeah, full type name is probably good to have the word type in there. I was going to drop it and just have it be full name, but I realize that's probably a little ambiguous if I do. Oh, but this guy doesn't know. So we need to pull this up. Because where do we get the... I'm going to go here. String namespace gets... Oh, we can't. Namespace is a keyword, right? Don't be an idiot. Okay, so we're going to pull it up there. And then we'll reuse it down here so it gets used in both spaces. And then visual element type. We really just care about the type's full name. No. Type dot name. So namespace type dot name, safe type name, get safe type name comes from type. Where's type known? So I need to pull up the get safe type name higher up. We're going to need it up here. And then the actual thing that we want to look for is, let's see, namespace without the keyword. Thank you, Copilot. Now go away. I don't like you, even though you were helpful. And then this becomes safe type name. So if it's not null, continue. That way it runs and says, if you're already defined, we will skip you. So that handles the dependency case, and then the collect handles it where there's two in the same assembly. Okay. Let's see, recompile the generator. and we commented out debug so that it will stop annoying me. And then rebuild. Then ultimately just fill in some of these diagnostics if needed. But I may duplicate attributes warning. And this one really should be firing on some of the other ones. Did it just compile? Oh, that was the generator one. Now rebuild this guy. It's like, wow, I was surprised. That was way too easy. I'm not used to it being so simple. Still ambiguous. And I think what is happening, and let's confirm this. I look at the analyzers, look at what got generated. Right, so I've got all these generated classes, and more importantly, in this case, it's going to be framework element. This guy here. So it generated framework element, generated extensions inside a XAMLTest. Great, fine, whatever. And then if I go to the test project, analyzers, extend. Yeah, and this is the one that I don't expect to be generated because it should have detected that it already is available. But perhaps the height of hubris is me assuming that I know how to code. Okay, so I think we may just slap the debugger back on because that should not have been generated if our check down here for getting the current item, getting the current type by metadata was correct, because this should have come back as XAMLTest, and then the safe type name should have given us the fully qualified big long obnoxious name. The question is, why did that not work? It's XAMLTest framework generated extensions. That does have wait a minute. That's the problem, is because we built it up based upon what's here, but I've literally got a suffix being added to the class name, so it's searching for something without the suffix to class name. Okay, simple solution. Public stat or no, private static string get class name visual element. All right, boom, done. No thinking, very simple. Expression body, that's fine. All right, so this goes here, this goes here. Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Okay, that goes there, that goes there, that goes there, goes there, that goes there. And I don't mess up my syntax. And then up above, we use the same method in both places to get the same name. Let's see. This becomes a class name. Oh, but I made it take a visual element, and I don't have a visual element. I have a safe type name. Dang nabbit. It's getting really obnoxious. So close to having them overlap, but not. Then we'll go X and paste that, and then go back to the call site. And then you get that guy. And up here, get class name save type name, and that will give it, okay. Said it before, we'll try it again. We'll send. Show me the output. While that's compiling, for people who are interested, next week I have scheduled an interview with the lead of the C# language design team. So if you are interested in C#, his name is Mads, wonderful guy. Hoping to have the video out on my YouTube channel before February 1st, so link down there. So if you're interested, follow the channel. Like I said, should be out before February 1st, assuming, no technical difficulties. And it compiles. It compiles. Happiness. Happiness. Okay. What would be really cool is if it worked. And what I'm most interested in is these visual element tests, because these are the ones that are actually going to exercise that generated code. So if you are problems with flashy lights, look away now. Oh, look at that. It works. It works. Okay, what I heard is immediately commit. Hey, Kraken, generate me a commit message. That'd be great. What are you? No, you've got the wrong origin. There. Exit preferences. Oh, and that's also the wrong origin. Ah, dang it. Dang it. Do not like that happens. Now I got to go down here. There we go. There. Okay, so that passes. That passes. Commit. Commit. Send up that branch. Yep, send it. Okay, so that gets it all the way to there. That gets it all the way to there. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy. This one should be by far simpler to implement, because this one is, we just need to specify the language and change the enum one. So I have not forgotten that we have to-dos back in the other one. I just want to see both of these things build and pass, because that will make me feel warm and fuzzy if I have actually both of them, both of the source generators rolling. And this other one is more or less a very simplistic version of the first one. So we're going to auto implement interface. So same thing here. We're going to just collapse this guy. And we really only need, appreciate, what? That's suggested. Oh, bad. No. Copilot, do not implement. This is not a you moment. You need to wait. Okay, so this guy here is once again, we're gonna move that over. Actually, I think we killed off usages of the syntax receiver completely. Just gonna verify that. Good, because we can now kill this one off and get rid of all that code, and that doesn't need to exist anymore. And we're gonna end up doing the same thing here, is slowly just kill it all the way off. Because this one is much simpler in that it is just iterating through each of these and looking for these generated test attributes, and then for each one that it finds, it generates the appropriate test. So this is why I say it's going to be basically copy and paste of the other one, because it's doing the same thing. It's just doing something different with the data. So this guy here, gonna need that. And then this guy here, for each of the, so what is it building up? Get type info, generate type. So this is building up a type info. I'm not sure this is actually the type I want to be returning. I might need to wrap this up in something slightly different, because we generally want to build up our own thing and not pass the actual Roslyn types back and forth. That's usually the basic flow with all of this. Is the first parsing method of the source generator builds up your own object collection of the stuff, and then the second pass actually then writes it out. Let's see, extension class goes hunting. So we do need to merge a little bit of this stuff together. And that's fine. And again, this unit test generator is only for internal within this solution. It's not actually it's not something that ships. So let's see here. So this guy here is going to filter on the type. Like, I don't think we want this over. Yeah, we gotta clean this sucker up. Let's just let's start with going through and grabbing this bit up here, because we kind of need something of this nature. Actually, we probably need both. We probably need both. Yeah, we'll I'm trying to decide if I actually need both. Like, both is better, but only internal. Yagni. You ain't gonna need it. Public record class, generated element. Sure, we need it. We need a thingy. And then I need extern init to be able to use record types. Paste. Poof, compiler now magically knows about record types. And we go here. We're just gonna Yagni it. Which microphone do you use? That's a great question. Honestly, cheap Amazon one. When I started streaming, I wasn't actually sure if I was going to stick with it or not. And so if you ever go back and like scroll on my YouTube channel all the way down, I literally just used my laptop with the onboard camera and mic and went, good enough. And then I advanced slightly and I bought a camera and I mounted it on the wall with spare sprinkler parts. And then I decided that I needed a different microphone, and so I got on Amazon and got something that was incredibly cheap. So I think, I don't know, whatever a $35 Amazon mic got me, for what it's worth. I will say it is not a USB microphone. It actually is an XLR mic that I have a small soundboard that it goes into now. I've seen other people with a lot nicer like USB mics. Like at work, we have a Blue Yeti one that actually delivers really nice sound. But I had this weird idea at one point that I wanted to be able to plug into a soundboard, because I thought, oh, well, if I ever want to like have an in-person interview, I want to be able to like plug multiple, microphones into the board and mix stuff together. I've never once done that. And so I think I may have gone overboard in that regard. So, but I honestly don't even remember which one it is, because it was a fairly cheap XLR one. Now I do have to ask the question: is that because the sound is good or bad, or just curious? Because it could go a lot of ways with that. Let's see. Get visual elements. Let's go here. I'm gonna do this, I guess. No, I do want some actual amount of this. We'll just grab the whole thing for now, and then we'll drop it in a minute. So, and then this guy comes up here, and we're going to go generated element. Generated elements. I'm going to change the type here to generated elements. Bip-de-bop-de-booyah. There we go. Okay, so we rip through the attributes, and then this one up here before. Once we get to the types, if abstract is true, we skip it because we only care about the most derived ones that we can actually generate tests for. Yeah, because it's good, and I'm a little confused which one I should get for my channel. I think actually what I would... So, again, I'm running literally a very cheap mic, so I don't know that I would recommend it. However, I will pull this up. So my setup, and I keep meaning to document it because occasionally I do get people asking. My microphone setup, so XLR mic goes into audio board goes into USB, which is then just an audio input device into the PC. Great. On OBS, I think the setup of my filters actually makes it sound potentially like a nicer mic than it probably is, for what it's worth. So if you are interested, I will kind of go through this somewhat quickish, but so noise suppression turned on, a noise gate, and at one point in time, I wish I could remember what it was because I lost the bookmark, but I had found a YouTube video of an audio engineer kind of outlining where he sets up these things, and I had followed that, and it got me into a pretty good place, and then I just stuck with it. So I do recall from the video that his comment was different microphones, different environments will behave differently. So this is a starting place, not a prescriptive way of doing it, because it can go a lot of different ways. So noise gate, again, -40 to -34. Compressor on the back of there. And it just goes slow in case people are interested. A limiter, and then the invert polarity. I am not an audio engineer, which is why I had started going through that, and I would potentially say, regardless of what microphone you get, it is probably worth poking a little bit around on YouTube. I think my search was something along the lines of OBS audio filters or something of that nature. Because people have a lot of different opinions about what it should be. I also have my furnace is about 4 feet to my left, and so there is a little bit of background noise that I have, but for the most part, I feel like the audio settings end up cutting most of it out, which is great. It's kind of hard to tell. Like in my day job, I'll use Teams, Slack, Zoom, etc., and all of the like video conferencing software, they also do their own noise filtering, and so it gets a little hard for grabbing that kind of thing. But yeah, like I said, I think the filters actually make a bigger difference for me rather than the microphone itself, because again, I'm running cheap stuff that I got off of Amazon that's, I'm sure, knockoff brand something or another. Because it would be like at some point I slowly upgrade my gear as I go, because streaming isn't my day job. Software engineering is my day job. Streaming's just for fun, because I enjoy it and it's nice. Because I initially got into it because on my open source project, people were asking a bunch of questions, and I realized, I'm like, man, I can keep typing out the answer, but it would be so much quicker to just go in and just make a quick video showing people how to do this. And then that video got received. I'm like, well, maybe I'll do another one, and then another one, and then it just kept going. Cutie, welcome in. Hopefully your stream went well. I assume you went through and ended up winning some if you ended up playing ranked. I hope I have my terminology right, so I'm not making a complete fool of myself. Great to have you. This is, well, it's going good now. The first hour and a half was met with a lot of frustration. Yeah, Assad, and I have had a couple of people say, "Oh, your audio is great." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think it's my mic, and I don't think it's my audio board because I've used nicer mics, and they are they do produce a lot better sound without needing to do extra work. So I'm cleaning mine up in software rather than with hardware. You did win a few. Awesome, cutie. Awesome. Oh, there is one other thing I should probably plug while I have people. There is a user group meetup coming up. Let me grab the link, people, when I find it. So, and here's the link if anybody is interested. So it is online for people if you are not in the Spokane, Washington area. It will be streamed via Intellitek's YouTube channel. But this is going over .NET Orleans. So Orleans is a system that Microsoft has had out for, it's got to be, I think they open sourced it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Don't quote me on that, but it's been a hot minute. So it's out and fairly well battle tested, but it is a way of doing distributed cloud computing where you can focus on what should your application be doing rather than on the infrastructure and how do I synchronize data, and I've got all of these different clusters and that sort of thing. So it's fairly advanced. It's also the back end system that is like powering the Xbox Live stuff. So it's like it can handle load when done well and at massive scale and at Microsoft budget. But with that said, it is an open source project that you can work through, and I don't know exactly what Austin's covering with it, but I worked with Austin for several years. He is awesome and a great presenter. So if you are at all interested in .NET cloud-based computing, check the stuff out. Yeah, I completely agree, Cutie. It will be great. I was very glad when he was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to give a talk on this." I was like, "Sweet," because every time Austin gives a talk, it is worth going and see. I will be there too. Whee! So if people are interested, like I said, feel free to sign up. If you don't want to sign up and give out your email secretly, you can just go to Intellitek's YouTube channel and click on the little live tab, and you can find it there. So secretly, we aren't that advanced in our streaming. We literally just throw it up on YouTube. So, but if you want to be in person and let us know you're coming, that's always cool. Excellent, Cutie. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a very busy week because I believe that's 2 weeks out. I just closed the tab and I need to double check the date. What was that? February 3rd. So yes, 2 weeks out. And then, like I said, next week, before the end of the week, so before February 1st, I anticipate having my video interview out with Mads, who's the lead of this C# language team. So he allowed me to corner him and beat him up with questions for a bit. So I'm very much looking. I shouldn't phrase that in past tense. That interview is occurring on Tuesday next week. I'll check my calendar, but I don't think it'll take me long to get it edited and uploaded and all that kind of jazz. So very much looking forward to that. Okay, what was I doing here? Something syntax nodes. Because I was looking to get the target name. And this one, I don't bother to do namespace because it's internal and I know that the namespace is there. So we just not do any of this stuff. And namespace is always just XAMLTest. So we just drop that because we don't need any of that garbage. And then, let's see, what else are we doing up here? So we have the suffix there for the name, target full name, because this is just literally going through all of the generated types. Yeah, I was a little surprised too, Cutie. I don't know. I got brave one day and went, you know what? I really enjoyed when I got to interview Mads Christensen, who is on the Visual Studio team at Microsoft. I was like, Mads Torgensen, he's really nice. I'm just going to send him an email. Turns out that's all it took. So it was, now, admittedly, because I'm an MVP, like we've met in person, he, I think, knows me by face and by name. At least well enough to say yes. So it wasn't like a complete, cold call style email, but it wasn't like something that we had talked about before. And I just shot him a message like, hey, would you be cool to do this? And he's like, yeah, let's schedule it. Sweet. So most of the Microsoft PMs I find, like at least the ones that I've worked with, have been fairly easygoing and fairly nice, especially if they know who they're talking to. Like if you run into them. Yeah. Worst he could have said was no. I was like, that's fine. That is totally fine. I suspect, because I'm going to be over in Seattle for a Microsoft conference in March, I think. I think it's March, and it's like, well, he's probably going to be there. He's been at that conference the last several years, so it's like, then he'd be forced to see me face to face. So that'll work out even better. Yeah, you were feeling particularly extroverted that day. Yeah, it may shock people. I go through waves of where I feel very introverted and I am burned out dealing with people. But then if I go through a long stint of like not interacting with other people, I then miss that too. It's like I'm this weird middle ground. I don't like a lot of either extreme. I need to happy middle, right? Like I like people and then I want them to go away and let me do this, or go away and work on my own stuff. So we need to grab the full type name from the generated types. So I trying to decide how we do this, because at the end of the day, we're iterating over each of these and verifying that the type got generated. I wonder if you're an ambivert. Is that a real word? It feels like something you definitely Google off screen. Oh, look at that. Yes. The first thing that came up, I'm not ambivert. There. Nice, Chris. Yeah. No, the first thing that pulls up. Yeah, that sounds about right. Somewhere about in the middle. Because depending on who's met me in what context, they usually put me on one of the two extremes of, well, clearly you're an extrovert. I've oftentimes told people I'm an extrovert with introvert tendencies. Let's see. Let's see here. So, and then we grab. So I'm trying to decide what I actually want this thing to do, because I'm going to iterate over all the types. I'm not going to have any of the ignored types. But this check here is the key one for, does the thingy exist? I'm actually surprised I haven't gotten bit by the fact that my code is so shoddy on this. I guess it's because it's only internal and the set of things doesn't change. So that's probably what's saving me. Let's just move this over so that they share the same. But it's, in this case, I know I'm not going to hit the generic types because there are no generic types in the base WPF stuff. But if that ever changes, this would start failing. So we'll just handle it while I've got it and then deal with it later. Right. Let's see. I need to be inside the type, not outside the type. Sorry. Loving all the conference talk. Say too, at some point, Chris, I'll let you know when I'll be over in your neck of the woods as well, because I think I still owe you a drink at some point. Okay, we are not doing any of this garbage, I don't believe, because we don't do, because this thing iterates over and tries to find the test methods. You get the method symbol and then tries to iterate. Man, all of this stuff just to get this. I wonder how bad it is to grab the type symbol. What all is on this? Because this is just a... It's just a record struct. Why am I fighting with this? Why am I fighting? I'm... Okay. Because if the goal is to just get this guy going, let's just make this guy go. All right, so we're going to do that instead, and then we're going to come up here, and we're going to say the syntax receivers generated types. And really what we want to do is just get the type info, and then that's the sum total of it. Bippity boppity booyah. So rather than all of this garbage in here, we just want this. And we just need to get the type info off of the thingy-mabobber, which I guess is actually going to be inside the if. That's at the point we actually know it. So we now have the type const, and then we have the original type definition, and we're only going after this guy here. So I don't think I care about the type of expression, but I do want to be able to get type of info, which wants a syntax node. Actually, I think we can just do this get type by metadata instead. That probably makes our life easier. So once we have the type constant, I think at that point we don't, well, actually this just wants a symbol node. Can't I just do this? No, because it wants a syntax node, not a symbol. Syntax node, not symbol. So I do probably need to go this route of ding, ding, ding. Oh. Okay. Let's see, type info, better match our way to victory. There, go there. Well, I don't know why that thing's giving me garbage. There. Type info. Where are you navigating me to? Type by metadata. Aren't you the, oh, you're a name type symbol. Oh, you're not actually giving me a type info. But you have, how do, grumble, 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 grumble. So this guy here, on text, how do I get to the type info from here? Semantic model target symbol. Yeah, because you have the actual symbol right there. If you have the actual symbol, why can I not just do um where's that target symbol go? Content. Because I know what you are. I know what you are. Where is my way through this? Where is my associated symbol? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. No, not symbol. I keep doing that. I need node. Because that's what I am looking to get to. Type symbol. Where do you get down to the node? Where do you get down to the node? Gotta be a... Okay. We're gonna go here. We go here. We go here. And I'm going to go cheater mode. I need the head to chat. There we go. How can I get the type info from the name type symbol I have here? That's all I want to know. Just don't do it. I guess you're in ask mode. You aren't going to do it. Just tell me where the API is to find my way through this. Which is already type information. You don't need, but you already have the resolve type symbol in the attribute argument. What? You, huh? You absolutely need a type info struct, for example, to match an existing API. You can create one manually, but based on your code, you can just use, since it's already, which provides all the type information you need. Okay, well, that is interesting. So what you're telling me, Copilot, and what did you do on the end here? Asked it for both parameters. Okay. Well, based on the fact that it's throwing an error at me, I'm gonna go with you liar, liar, pants on fire. Oh, it needs nullability. I don't know that I care, actually. I don't know that I care. I think I could potentially pass whatever I wanted here and it would be fine. I'm not going to use any of it. Nullability info. Can I just do nullability info none? That is, you are just another... Yeah, you're just a read-only struct that I can't instantiate. You suck. Bypass it. Type info does not contain a constructor that takes 4 arguments. Isn't that what we just saw? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and your internal. You jerk. You absolute jerk. You... Okay, so how do we get to... where we can actually muck with you. You don't support. No. There we go. And then I need type gets, because I don't think we use anything else. Type symbol. It is read-only. I'm aware it's read-only. That's my problem. I'm trying to go through that, and you're making my life hard. Okay. Well, I guess then that explains why we abandoned doing this as a type info and why we need it to be something else. So rather than trying to get it, let's just focus on the generation portion and circle back to this, because that's really what we are looking for, is all of this. Can you convert into a raw string? Yeah, thank you. I would much rather look at that than have it all shoved up against the left on me. Because really, this is just iterating over all of the properties. Same thing. Raw string literal. Thank you. Okay. And then you, because I would like all of my code nicely indented. You've been a wonderful help. So if we just generate this, it needs the class name. It then iterates over all of the methods, as well as, because get test methods pulls out the method info and the statics and the properties and all of that. Okay. Are you flagging first of default? Simplify link. Oh, because I don't need to do a where. Okay. Great. So that's just going to walk up through the classes and build up a list. Pick up the abstract base stuff. But we don't grab it if the type is abstract, which I think makes sense. That comment is a very bold-faced lie. Okay. Well, I think I lied when I said this one would be a quick copy and paste of the other one. I think this is actually going to take some effort to do. So, we're going to go here. We're going to go here. We're going to auto-generate a commit message because it's not completely working. And then we're going to tap the word whip onto the front of it. Make it go. Okay. There we go. Great. Commit. Send it. Sweet. Okay. I think I should probably call it, as it's 12:30 and I have like 3 more things I have to do before sleeping. The sleep is somewhat optional. But Chris, I appreciate you bringing your party in here for everyone who came and joined. If you are interested in C#.NET stuff, that is the vast majority of the content that I tend to do on here. So I always enjoy having people come in. I also don't mind questions and rabbit trailing down different things. We've also been exploring some 3D work for an Enigma machine for, ironically, for Izzy, the other person who does not know how to sleep, which is great. Yes, sleep Izzy is the thing that people do when they get tired. I realize you don't ever get tired. You're just a machine. So, but yeah. Thank you everyone for coming and hanging out. Cutie, have a good night. Izzy, pretend to sleep after your, what I assume to be a nice long day. And as always, everyone, happy coding. See everyone next time. And I don't know how to do this. Let's try again.